A lot of people don't think about their savings until it's too late or an emergency happens and you don't have the funds. Hey, rich friend, it's the Bougie Budgeter here, and today we are going to talk about something super important: your savings account. Having a healthy savings account is really what will make you feel more empowered about your dollars. And even further, it's going to make you feel confident on those days where it's like, I don't even know. I don't want to do this. I also like to call it an effort fund, it fund, whatever you like to call your savings account. We're going to talk about how to build it up as fast as possible so that you can use your money to do other things. Okay, I have 4 topics that we're going to talk about today: savings account criteria, automating your savings, shifting your savings mindset, and setting achievable goals. We're talking about this all day today, and I hope that you stick around. But before we jump into this video, make sure that you join my Young, Rich, and Responsible email list. The information is in the description below. I send weekly emails to help you get your money together, everything that you need as a young professional to get your money together. First point we need to talk about is your savings account criteria. I have a criteria for literally everything in my life. I have a strict list of like, this is what I will do. This is the criteria. So the criteria that I have for a savings account: the savings rate must be at least 3 to 5 times higher than the national average. And the bar is pretty much in hell for that. I like to have at least 3 to 5 times the average saving rate. So that's where it comes into the high yield savings account. And I've made a video about this before, but I want to remind you again, there is nothing different between a high yield savings account and a regular savings account, just the rate. They work the same way. It is a savings account. But if I'm going to have a savings account, it's going to be the baddest on the block. So it's going to be a high yield savings account. The other thing that my savings account must have is no requirement for a checking account or a credit card. Yes, I'm looking at you, Apple. That's like one of my biggest things that I hate about the Apple savings account is that it's required for you to have an Apple card. Requiring a credit card to open a savings account is so counterintuitive, and I think that it is just a scam waiting to happen because a savings account is literally that, to be saved. So I'm not a fan of any accounts, any savings accounts that require you to open up a checking account or require you to open up a credit card account with the bank in order to use the savings account. Varo Bank also requires you to open up a checking account in addition to your savings account, which is just another reason why it's just not my favorite. The other thing in my savings account criteria is it must be very hard to get to. So I prefer to have them online. So something that takes at least 3 to 5 business days to transfer the money out is what I require when it comes to doing my heavy savings, because I want to make sure that it is a hassle to get to that money. And that's the only way it's going to be saved. I gotta hide the money from myself. And if you are a person like me who needs to hide money from themselves, it's fine. It is what it is, but I have to do it. You have to do it. So that's why it's a part of my savings criteria. I think those are like the main ideas that I have when it comes to like the criteria. So definitely, again, it needs to be a good savings rate, at least 3 to 5 times higher than the national average. It needs to not have a credit card or a debit card requirement for it to be opened. And it must be hard to get to and preferably be online. It doesn't have to be an online bank, because I want to say like Capital One has a really great high yield savings account and it's a brick and mortar bank. So it doesn't have to be online, but I just prefer it to be online to have a little bit more space in between how long it takes me to be able to withdraw those funds. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up on this video if you love it. If my financial advice helps you in any way, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up to this video. The next thing I'm going to talk about is automatic savings. I believe that all savings should be automatic. That's the only way that I can save personally. So, how I have it set up is on my payday, I save 10% of my take home pay into a savings account just off the top. And that's what works for me and my money, because I also have the same idea of my 401k, the money comes out automatically. And so I don't really miss those dollars just because I never had them in my bank account to begin with. So that's how I feel about savings. If I just automatically put it into my savings account, I'll never miss the money because I never had it. It was already automatically going into my savings account, and it's not stopping me from realizing or like taking me back from anything. So I like to just have it automatic. I think that automatic savings is what really helps me save the fastest, because I out of sight, out of mind. Again, the same practice of when I'm paying for my health insurance out of my check, when I contribute to my 401k, it happens automatically. So I just don't miss that money because it never was there. Automate your savings if you really want to get there. If you said, I want to save $1,000 in the next 2-3 months, you are going to have that automated savings set up so that you can hit that $1,000 savings goal, and so that you can pivot your dollars to do something else. Point blank, period. If you're serious about it, you're going to do it. If you're not serious, then you're not. My next point is to shift your savings mindset. The number one thing that you want to do is focus on what you can control. A lot of times we get discouraged because we feel like we should be saving more. Oh, somebody else just hit their $10,000 goal. Someone else just said that they had $20,000 in their savings account, and all of those things. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. But you need to focus on what you can control. And what you can control is your savings rate, where you put your money. That's really it. You can't control the bank and how much money they're going to give you in your high yield bank account, but you can control what bank you leave your money at. You can't control the stock market, but you can control what things you invest your money in. You can't control whether you have sometimes you can't control whether you have a job or not, but you can control your bills and how expensive you are paying towards certain things. So be mindful of the things that you can control and only focus on those things. Everything else is really none of your business. It's just about how you react to it. In addition to that, you want to build your savings habit, which is why I like to have my savings automated in the first place, to build that savings muscle, but to keep it automated and to get into the habit of it. I think the other mindset shift that I really personally had to do was stop thinking about, oh, I have $200 less in my account because I'm saving it, but I have $400 that I get to live off of and that I get to use to experience life. I think they did an experiment, and it always stuck with me, where they were going around to people who had 401ks and say, like, hey, could you give up 20% of your income? Could you give up 20% of your income? And of course, people's like, why would I want to get paid 20% less? Like, why would I give up 20% of my income? Versus they asked another set of people, do you think that you could live off of 80% of your income? So if I gave you $100,000, do you think that you could live off of $80,000 versus the $100,000? And of course, people are like, yeah, I can live off 80% of my income. That makes sense, because you can think of the bigger number versus the smaller number. So think of the bigger number. Think of, I'm living off of, or I get to spend $400 this month on whatever I want to spend and have a great time, versus, damn, I could have had $600, or damn, I don't have, or I'm taking out $200 to save. When you change your mindset and adjust how you are approaching your savings and the habit of savings, the more excited you get when you are building up that savings account, when you are getting to your financial goals, because you have to reframe it in a different way. And that's perfectly okay. And the last thing I want to talk about today is your Goals, setting achievable goals, setting something that's realistic that you can do within the time frame that you allotted. Now, whether you are trying to hit a $20,000 goal in the next 2 years, or if you are trying to just hit your first $1,000 goal in the next 2 months, the main thing that you want to make sure that you do is tracking your progress. It's something about like seeing where we started and seeing where we are now that just brings a little bit more life and kind of rejuvenates yourself. Because when you're in the middle of going for that goal, when you're in the middle of saving for something, you can only see the little things that you're doing right now. And it's like, oh, this doesn't feel like much. But then when you zoom out, you're like, oh, well, this small $200 became a big $10,000. This small $20 became a big $1,000. And the little things really do add up. But until you start putting in a way for you to track that progress, you won't really get to see the grand scheme of it. The last thing that I want to say is you need to reward yourself. Reward yourself for the good things that you're doing, for the good job that you've done when it comes to your savings. And it does not mean that you have to spend more money to reward yourself. Your reward could be special ice cream. Your reward could be calling out for the day, or your reward could be quitting your side hustle or your second job that you started so that you could have more money to invest and save faster. Reward yourself for all the great work that you've done and start letting other people know what you're doing and how you're excited for it and what it means to you, and bring other people in on your success who want to share your success with you. So reward yourself because you deserve it. My final thoughts are savings is important. Cash will always be queen, and having liquid savings is something that I find very, very important. So figuring out a better way to do it faster, to do it a little bit more efficient will always be your best bet. And I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you have any other questions about savings or anything that you want me to go more in depth in for this conversation, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. And as always, go make that money, friend.